Hey everybody, welcome to the Faith and Fandom podcast, and this is a special edition slash, not really a podcast, but more of just an audible credits, like end credits for a movie, just without a good soundtrack. What I wanted to do real quick is actually run through the thank yous that are in Book 7. And not just read a list of names, but also, expound a little bit on why those people are thanked in Book 7, but I try to at the end of each new book look through my year and just thank the people that have been instrumental in encouragement. So I just want to read through the names and actually kind of give them a little love and shout out. So these are some people that have been really crucial in making Faith and Fandom happen over the last year. Because Book 7 is real talk. I'm not even announcing this yet, but Book 7 is technically already out on Kindle and print. The Kindle version is going to stay the way it is. I need to fix one thing on the back cover of Book 7 physically, but it should be out later in the week. Where I actually announce it, but you're the only people I'm actually saying right now to that it's actually out. And if you can deal with one typo on the back, I misspelled mosaic, and I want to fix that. But it's out if you want to get that. But anyway, so here's some thank yous, and I'm going to butcher some of these names, but just roll with me. Janine Tavares is one of the folks from Geeky Guys and Gals for God in California, and she was really integral in getting me out to San Diego Comic-Con last year, and that was a huge blessing, and that whole group was really a blessing, but she went above and beyond and has been really encouraging throughout the whole process. My dude Patrick Gale, who is in Florence, South Carolina, and he is one of the most encouraging and supportive people I've met in the con industry. Chris Poyer, is one of the people that has the most drive and encouragement and sees things beyond my little scope of vision when it comes to things Faith and Fandom could be. And he also is just another pastor, geek minister that helps me to balance out. And a lot of Faith and Fandom wouldn't happen without his encouragement. And let's see, we've got Ivan Anaya, and dude, if I said your name wrong, I'm so sorry. But it's Ivan. I don't know if I've ever said your name out loud or heard it out loud, but he works with Mercy Way Studios. Just fantastic art, some really great illustration, but they put some really beautiful visuals to the gospel, and he's also just incredibly encouraging on social media and with me. Actually was talking with him on Instagram right when I was starting to do this, so there's that. Corey Grant, who is a guy that had used some Faith and Fandom stuff for study materials, but he and his group have just been amazing and encouraging. Ansley Monroe, who is a cosplayer, and she's also just you're going to notice a trend. People that encourage me really do mean a lot, so I'm going to mention that a lot. So if I just say they're encouraging, don't take that as it's not a real thing, because trust me, this is a discouraging role sometimes, and people that encourage me mean a lot. So Ansley Monroe, who also is a really dope Peggy Carter cosplayer. Jillian McLaughlin, who I met at GalaxyCon Richmond, and her heart and her story were just incredibly touching to me, and she is a tremendous blessing. And if I get it wrong about when I meet y'all, forgive me. Just tell me. Yeah. So Jillian is a sweetheart and a total encouragement. Seth Austin, who has been an encouragement to me, especially during these last couple months in quarantine and stuff, but just someone I can connect with that has a supportive heart, and also just really here's some stuff in his life and ministry that I connect with, and he's a big encouragement. Kessel Run Comics, which is in Elizabethtown, North Carolina. It's one of my 2 local comic book shops that I patronize, but not in a negative way. I don't know, whatever. I give them money. But it's a young startup comic book shop in Elizabethtown, North Carolina. Star Wars themed, obviously. Cool place. Mac runs that. Sarah Lewis, another just incredible encouragement person with all of these things, and I'm grateful for her. Todd Turner, who realistically is one of the more qualified people in comic book life, and he should probably be hosting the pull list instead of me. But Todd Turner is another person who has used like Faith and Fandom from small groups and stuff like that. He does some really creative things, and he also runs Mosaic Fan Art, which is the word I misspelled on the back of the book. But you should also check out Mosaic Fan Art on Facebook if you can spell it right, which I can't. Let's see who we got. Matthew Coker, if I'm saying that right. I don't know if I've ever said your name out loud either, but who runs Back Row Radio and has partnered with me to do Critical Hit. He's given me a platform to do 50. I'll be coming up on 50 verbal devotionals on his radio station, and I'm dope. And that's just a dope opportunity. Amy Deletry, again, I don't say people's names out loud. But Amy's had a hard year in terms of like seizures and stuff like that, and she's just another encouragement, but she's also just really brilliant mind when it comes to Comic-Cons and geek culture and stuff like that, and I'm grateful for her. She's one of my favorite people to run into at shows, and I'm grateful for her. My dude Ryan Scheffler, Scheffalonia Studios, he does Jeff the Yeti comics, just a kindred spirit and heart as far as a lot of everything. Like the other day, I was wearing an outfit that he had the exact same outfit. But Ryan Scheffler is dope. My friend Kimberly Ann out of Greenville, South Carolina, one of the most fierce? One of the most fierce people that of encouragement and support. Like she always makes a trip out just to support. My dude Bernie Mangiboya, dude, I've never said your name out loud, but Bernie, who runs Dragon's Lair Comics in Fayetteville, North Carolina. They were also the first comic book shop to directly carry Faith and Fandom. I'm grateful for that. But Dragon's Lair is it's near Pope Air Force Base in Fayetteville, North Carolina. They are dope. Highburn Studios, which is my dude Michael Watkins' comic book studio. I actually wrote a comic book story for Highburn. I don't know if it's ever gonna get made. But it's a really cool concept. So if you want to throw Michael Watkins or Highburn Studios and say, hey, make that comic book Hector wrote, you can do that. Because it's actually a pretty good story, and I kind of want it to be a thing so I can keep writing it. Andy Field, voice actor. He's just a really big encouragement, but he's a voice actor, and he's done roles in Infinity War, Endgame, Avengers Endgame, Walking Dead. He's the hand unit in Five Nights at Freddy's, but just a big old encouragement with that. My dude Chris Wright out of Tennessee. He's one of the most passionate men I know, and he has always been a big supporter with that. Deborah Ulmer, and she runs Dee's Sweet Treats, if I'm going to say that right. She runs a vegan bakery out of the Raleigh-Durham Triangle area. So if you like vegan sweets and stuff, you need to get on that. But I, in all realities, consider her the other half of Amy Deletry, and so she is an encouragement, a great person in cons. That she's smart, she's brilliant, and she has a passion for things, and I love her perspective on things. So let's see. Second and Charles, Fayetteville, North Carolina, carries my books, and I'm grateful for them. You can find them on the shelf in the inspiration aisle right next to Donald Miller, and I'm grateful for that. They also have great Funko Pops and records. Vincent and Stephanie Stevens, if you know Faith and Fandom, you know Vincent. He did the cover art for book 7 and book 6 and the kids book, and he's been the ride or die homie for many a year in regards to Comic-Cons and making prints, and one of my best friends. So Vincent and Stephanie, and they also have a baby named Nova. I guess I should have put Nova in the book. I don't know. My friend Leah Bowman, who out of the Raleigh area, another one of my Ultimate Comics con friends, and I love her dearly. She's a sweetheart and a big supporter as well. Candace and Russell Davis. Candace is Matilda King cosplay. And their kids have a cosplay page called Adventures in Cosplay, and they're one of my oldest con friends and biggest encouragements. And she also did some dope crochet work, and made me a shepherd book stuffed animal. But they are straight up one of the most creative and kind people in Comic Cons, period. Mandy and Jason Crutchfield, again, super supportive, really encouraging. They bring me Mountain Dews to cons, and they also allowed me to read part of my book at their wedding ceremony back in the day, at their request, not mine. And they're a great group of folks. Jason Bullock, who does filmmaking and teaches you how to make films. It does some cool stuff with that. Again, huge supporter. He wore one of my shirts to meet like William Riker the other year, and just in general, big supporter. Really grateful for him. Game Changer Ministry, which is my friends out of Myrtle Beach. The Edwards clan, they do some really dope ministry online. You should check them out at Game Changer Ministry. Michelle Byers, who is one of the biggest encouragements I have out of the Alabama region. She crochets and she does Bible journaling art that's freaking glorious, and we play Animal Crossing together. Keith Gibbs, who is one of the co-runners, owners of Fayetteville Comic-Con, and one of the most driven problem-solving dudes in the world. Chick Jacobs, who is a reporter for the Fayetteville Observer and always gives me love in publication and encouragements. The same goes for Paul Wolverton, who I used to do theater with, and he also, up until this year, was a reporter for the Fayetteville Observer. And Chick and Paul together were the first people to ever actually cover Faith and Fandom in news media, and they actually helped kickstart a lot for me, and that was a big deal. Diana Cagle, who covered Faith and Fandom for the Biblical Recorder, which is the big Baptist newspaper thing, but that's a big deal. Still appreciative of her. Walter West makes all my shirts. So if you've ever had a Faith and Fandom shirt, Walter West of 3 Kids Screen Printing in Lumberton, North Carolina, is the dude that made the shirt that you are wearing. Afua Richardson, who is an artist for Marvel and DC and all the other things. She is a wonderful lady, and she's an encouragement, and got to have dinner with her and Chris Poyer and some other folks back at a couple cons ago, but she's always one of my favorite folks to see at a con. Just Jess, who hosts the Flash Chat and all the CW-based shows out of Charlotte's CW station. Always is kind and has Faith and Fandom on their show like twice a year usually, and grateful for that exposure and that kindness. Geeks Under Grace, which is an online community for nerds and geeks of faith out there. I think it's probably the largest online geek faith community that I'm aware of. And they always loving and supportive. Love Thy Nerd, my dudes and ladies of the LTN crew. I host the Pull List podcast through them. They do some great Comic-Con ministry. They do a lot of online presence, and just some folks that I've been associated for a long time in this journey, and I'm grateful for them. And if you're looking for a place to connect, they're a dope place to connect with your faith. Nerd Chapel, which is Nathan and Eric. Oh no, I think that's mainly just Eric, actually. But Eric does Eric Anderson does. Wow, I skipped a lot of people up here. Jeez. I straight up skipped a lot of people. Let me backtrack. Eric Anderson, who does Nerd Chapel, they also wrote Faith Through Fandom, or 42 Faith Through Fandom, which is another devotional book series, and I'm going to mess up the title, but something like God Terraforms All Things, which was their second book. But Eric is an encouragement and a blessing in that. My dude Chris Cook, who hosts One Cross Radio, and my Canadian bro, who actually has a guest chapter in this book. He wrote the Pokemon chapter that's in this book, so you should check that out. And as I mentioned before, Geeky Guys and Gals for God out of North Carolina, not North Carolina, California, both the OC branch and the main branch, I guess, in San Diego. Big encouragement and supporters in that. Yeah, there's just a lot of names, and my eyeballs jumped. I apologize. You can actually follow along in the back of Book 7 if you actually have Book 7. Jeff the Girl / Leonore Ortega Till, who is the saxophone player for Five Iron Frenzy, and she actually gave me the musical rights to be able to put So Far, a Five Iron Frenzy song, on our soundtrack. But she's also a big encouragement social media wise for me, and she's a blessing, and I'm grateful to know her. Brian and Hanan Edwards, or Brianna and Hanan Edwards, who, as I previously mentioned, run a Game Changer Ministry. Out of the Myrtle Beach area. Just a sweet, compassionate couple, and I think they actually just celebrated their 12-year anniversary, and they're dope. Brian Dawson, who runs Next Fest Music Festival in Fayetteville, North Carolina, who has let me have Faith and Fandom set up at this music festival for years now, but also let me DJ their big music festival, and I got to DJ and be on the same docket as Andy Mineo this year, so that's awesome. But Brian has always been one of the biggest encouragements for Faith and Fandom. He's been a ministry blessing before I was doing this, so I'm grateful for him. Michael Chatahari, who is the other dude who runs Fayetteville Comic Con and who has put the wheels under it and made it go. Grateful for that dude. Grateful for his presence and that he's still killing it and doing all the things he's doing. Scrolling. My boy John Jacobs, who's just grew up with him, but he's been a real active part of our my life and ministry for the last year and a half, and just grateful for his presence in my life and the encouragement that he is. He also brings me a lot of Funko Pops. David and Sheila Spakes, who run Nerd Church in the Tennessee region. So if you're in the Eastern Tennessee region and you've seen a church service at a con, David and Sheila Spakes do that. They give out cups and bumper stickers, and they're cool. Jackie Kraft, she's like the Ann Perkins of the cosplay world, or maybe she's the Chris Traeger of the con world, and she just says Ann Perkins. Yeah, I'll go with that. She's the Chris Traeger of the Comic-Con world, and her Instagram feed is life. But she's a creator, a cosplayer, a crafter, and does all the things professionally, but she has a passion and zeal for life that is a great encouragement to me. LJ Lawan Bowens, who hosts Nerd Slam and partners with me and has been creative support for many years, but I get to do Nerd Slam at cons with him frequently, and he is a tremendous blessing in that. And he is the pulse of poetry in the North Carolina region. Dr. David Powers, call sign Redbeard, is a dude that has a tenacity for life and faith and strength and models that in a lot of ways. He's written several books, and he's included me in a couple of those, and he's been in a couple of ours. But Dr. David Powers is a force of nature, and I'm grateful for him. Timmy Martins, our editor, one of my best friends, used to be an annoying kid when he was 7, and I was a grown-up, and now, like, we do this together, and he's edited every book since book 2. And I wouldn't be able to do this without him. My church, Vertical Church of Lumberton, North Carolina, which lets me run around and do nerdy stuff and doesn't give me grief when I'm gone for 5 weeks out of the year for Comic-Cons. But they are a huge support, and totally to have a church role that supports faith and fandom is crucial. My homie Lyle Pollard, who is one of my favorite artists, and we've been doing Comic-Cons together for a long while. And Lyle has done art and stuff, and if you need custom covers or anything like that, Lyle is the dude to go to. Lyle is straight up just a fantastic artist. So if you want to find him on Instagram, look for Lyle Pollard, and you can find some cool stuff. D. Michael Watkins, who I previously mentioned, he used to be the dude in the cowboy hat at cons. The cowboy hat is now gone, but he is a great comic book artist and the owner of Highburn Studios, and he is just a tenacious man, and you should get to check out his stuff online as well. Sarah Beth and Joe Miller. Sarah Beth and Joe Miller are a couple that I have known for a few years now, and they are, again, tremendous encouragement. Really funny, before they were married, or right after they were married, I can't remember exactly, but both of them came to my booth at the same con separately to buy my books as gifts for each other. And that's just really neat. And I've been able to be a part of their lives for a long while now. And Sarah Beth is just a force of truth and encouragement that I'm grateful for. Joe is just, he says I'm his favorite author, and that makes me happy inside. He's just a supportive dude that's great. The Justice League, which is a Christian hip hop group based out of Charlotte, they make fire. They love Jesus, like their music. Sammy Davis, not Junior, but like this dude he was one of the voices for book 1, but he's also my local GameStop manager and supplies me with all the things, and I'm grateful for him and his presence. Kathy Kelly is also a great encouragement. She was a co-editor on a few of my projects, but also just has a passion for ministry, and I'm grateful for her. Ian Gullett, a dude I used to do theater with long ago in a galaxy far, far away, and a guy that is an encouragement to me. He's actually the first person to ever tell me to do a podcast. And legit, he's the reason why I started a podcast. So you are hearing this because, 1, you're bored enough to listen to this, and 2, because Ian said so. So Ian is the reason you're hearing these things. Julia Yao, who is a woman I met at a con in Durham, North Carolina, and she wanted to make manga and write stories in Japanese, and to be in some ways what Faith and Fandom is to the Japanese culture, and I love that. Billy Chavis is one of my best friends since high school. He's the one that got me on Firefly and literally got me down this role. We've celebrated many life and nerd things together, but he's one of my biggest encouragements, and he's the dude that would help me hide a body at 2 a.m. without question. Jamila Davenport, who is a correspondent and multimedia tycoon in the Raleigh region, and always gives Faith and Fandom love and encouragement whenever we're around for things, and I'm grateful for her. Shanine Thompson, hope I said your name right, who runs the Hoot and Howl blog, which is a blog of faith and nerdy things, and she just has such a sweet spirit about how she does things. If you're familiar with the music of Sandra McCracken, I connect Shanine's writing to Sandra McCracken's tone of music, just in my head at least. So there's that Legacy AD, which is a Christian-based comic book out of Atlanta, Georgia, about a cop who is also fighting demons. There's one issue of it out and some apparel, but I met the dude who does Legacy AD at a con, and he's a big encouragement. Summer Glau, River Tam. I met her at a con, and she asked me about being a vendor, and I told her about Faith and Fandom, and she asked that I bring her books, and then about 6 months later, I was able to hand her Faith and Fandom, but she requested them, and that meant a big deal to me, and I'm just grateful for her presence and also for Firefly. So Summer Glau was a big encouragement with that. We're almost there, guys. Roll with me. Zachary Watson and Aaron Dowen, who... Zachary Watson is a big encouragement. Aaron Dowen, who runs Catalyst Comics and just also writes some slightly edgy Christian books that I'm grateful for. Will Rose, who is another geek minister in the area. He's the geek faith pulse of the Lutheran Church in his region, but he also is part of just some cons and conventions and stuff that actually really bring faith to an intellectual discussion level, and not just geeking out, but actual like solid intellectual discussion with that, and I'm grateful for that. Tamara Robertson, who is one of the Mythbusters folks. She also made an appearance on the Pull List podcast, but she is a brilliant scientific mind, passionate and creative, but also is free in talking about her faith and why that matters, and that's just a big deal. Kevin Eastman, creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who also came on the Pull List podcast and talked about his faith and also how it related to the creation of the Ninja Turtles and how that plays out in his life now. And the fact that I've got to do a podcast with the dude who created Ninja Turtles is fantastic. And again, that's thanks in part to Chris Boyer and Love Thy Nerd. My dude Victor Slaughter, who has been on one of the podcasts before, but also created a whole board game company called Vandal Gaming, and you could check them out. Chrissy Smith, who is one of my old flock, who was just a tremendous encouragement. She also donates wax to me to make candles. Fayetteville Observer, newspaper that covers me well. Zach Harris, geek preacher out of Wilson, North Carolina, who lovingly welcomes me to his geek Comic-Cons, and he's actually the first person I know to host a Comic-Con at a church. So grateful for him. And for his just passion and allowing me to be a part of that. Rhapsody Artajo. Again, things I've never said out loud. But Art Rhapsody, who is a performer, host, model, all the things. She did a shout-outy thing on the back of book 6. She's been a tremendous encouragement to me in her support. And she also did the artist portrait thingy on the back of book 7. But I love her. She's wonderful. Hugo and Amanda Soto, who run Empire Comic-Con in Savannah, Georgia. Again, one of the most supportive couples I've ever met in ministry. And I'm grateful for them and their support and their friendship. Matthew and Sanica Coleman, who are out of Wilmington, North Carolina. And the Coleman family came up to my booth last year at Wilmington, North Carolina, and made me cry with their support. And Sanica Coleman actually has a blurb on the back of book 7. Todd Turner also has a blurb on the back of book 7. Moving on, Josh Allman and Chris Rigo, who are comic book sales folks out of the Charlotte region, who also let me be a guest at Concord Minicon and are just also supportive. Josh Cole, who housed me at San Diego Comic-Con, and his encouragement and just letting me live at his house for a week and helping me with transportation and just sharing experience with me. I'm grateful for that. John Ibsen, who is just one of my LTN friends, but also one of the folks who have done Faith and Fandom small groups and all these things, just a passionate person for Christ and, takes the initiative to lead others and lets Faith and Fandom be a part of that, and I'm grateful. My dude Steve Fromm, who was my dude I hung around with a lot of time at San Diego Comic-Con, and he also did a really cool thing when quarantine started where he was going to read through all the Faith and Fandom books online each night, and he made it through a lot of book 1, and I'm grateful for that. Drew Dixon, my dude over at LTN, who also just makes a lot of ministry and life possible, and I'm grateful for him. The same as well with Jonathan Clausen, who makes a lot of Love Thy Nerd possible, and in the same breath helps Faith and Fandom in a lot of ways. Bubba Stallcup, again, Love Thy Nerd, making it happen, big supporter, big encourager, helps in making bridges for the nerd and faith community. Amanda Spear, who is someone I've never met, but we've talked online a lot, and we're Five Iron Frenzy co-fans, and she supports my books in big ways, and supports me in ministry in big ways, and I'm grateful for her. Bailey Creations, which is a artist site on Instagram, so I think it's bailey.creations. Her art is very nerdy and faith infused, and I'm grateful. Deborah Lanham, who is a cosplayer in Wilmington, North Carolina, also big supporter of Faith and Fandom and the encouragement she brings. Tina Raraba, I said your name so wrong, but you are a huge blessing. Madeline Turnipseed, who works with LTN, has also edited some stuff that I've worked on before for LTN. Grateful for you. And my family, which are big helps, obviously. And then the other ones, just wanted to shout out. My Kickstarter Patreon just started. So there's not a lot of patrons, but I want to say thank you especially to Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, Rebecca Goodlove, who shouldn't have just been in the Patreon thing. She's a huge support and encouragement all the time. She runs Becky's Bangles and also does a ministry of theatricality and monologues and stuff and shows. So check her out. Adam Davis, who's a big encouragement as well. Stephanie Schwann, again, big encouragement. And the previously mentioned Jason Bullock. So those are all people that helped make Faith and Fandom possible throughout this past year. And I'm grateful for you for listening. And if you know any of those people, thank them as well. And I'll be back with like a real podcast soon.